Oh, my friends, we're making another video about the RTX 20 series because there's more information that's come out about what Nvidia exactly means by the things that they said during their press conference on the card's launch a couple of days ago. A lot of you got upset with me when they showed on stage that the cards start from $499 and go all the way up. And you tell me that it's not for the Founders Edition models. I should have known that it's for all of the other cards, the add-in board partner cards. Well, that would have been true had Nvidia actually ever said that on stage, which they did not. They only ever showed the pricing next to the Founders Edition cards and never clarified that it was for the AIB partners. It was a deceitful move, in my opinion, and for people who tell me, well, the Founders Edition cards are always higher. That is also not true. That was only the case for the 1080 and the 1070. The 1060, the 1080 Ti, and the 1070 Ti all had matching Founders Edition prices to what the AIB partner cards were charging. So it wasn't an obvious statement that the Founders Edition cards would be more expensive than what they were showing on stage, except for the fact that Nvidia says it is. The Founders Edition cards automatically cost higher than what they said the cards are starting from. But they never indicated that. That's some deceit, in my opinion. That's them not clarifying the subject matter, indicating one thing and actually doing a whole nother, which it appears they're actually doing with the title RTX. But before we dive into all of Nvidia's shenanigans, I want to let you know that this video is brought to you by BetterHelp.com/UFD. So if you've been looking for online, affordable, professional, licensed therapists that can meet with you at your convenience through text, chatting, video call, or a phone call, it's very easy to now get simple, affordable, professional counseling through BetterHelp, and you can get matched with a counselor within 24 hours if they don't meet your needs or match your personality style. You can find another counselor who can do that very simply. It's super quick, barely an inconvenience to actually change to a new one. If you're over 18, you can head on over to BetterHelp.com/UFD to start your professional counseling from $35 to $65 per week. And if that's too rich for your blood, you can apply for their sponsorships because they do have it at a more affordable rate if you do qualify. BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, but if you're looking for reliable, regular counseling, you can check out the link in the video description, BetterHelp.com/UFD. And now let's jump into the rest of the video. Well, it turns out that Nvidia had a little more deceit up their pockets, even if you don't think that the pricing structure was part of their deceit. You see, the biggest part of what they were trying to push on Monday was the ray tracing capabilities of the new RTX cards. And they showed demos with RTX on and RTX off. And with how much they were talking about it, one would think that RTX means ray tracing. If a game has RTX support, it has ray tracing support because that's what Nvidia kind of clearly showcased it would be. However, we have some clarification that that is not the case. RTX doesn't have to mean that a game supports ray tracing at all, because Nvidia announced that there would be 21 games supporting RTX technology, including the likes of PUBG, We Happy Few, and Hitman 2. Which I guess would be amazing if PUBG had ray tracing, because, I mean, if you want to slow down its performance even more with it not being optimized, and the same thing for We Happy Few, let's just add more features where they can't even cope with how they are already released. That's neither here nor there. So when these games were announced, a lot of us would naturally assume that when Nvidia puts up a slide that says RTX games coming soon, and it talks about how RTX is about ray tracing, it's about lifelike lighting, it's about lifelike shadows, that it would include ray tracing. You see, my friends, Nvidia clarified in a press statement later that RTX refers to either AI-enabled deep learning super sampling or ray tracing. It can have both, or it can have one or the other, and including games such as PUBG, ray tracing is not coming to them whatsoever. So out of the 21 games that were announced, 16 support the deep learning super sampling, so that means 5 do not, and out of the 21 games that were announced, only 11 support ray tracing. So about half of the RTX games that are coming out at launch don't even have ray tracing support, which seemed to be the entire point of what Nvidia tried to push. They didn't really discuss the deep learning super sampling that was coming with the tensor cores that are on the RTX cards, which is a great advancement in and of itself, but it seems a little shady, in my opinion, that Nvidia would not actually include the games to have both ray tracing and deep learning super sampling if they're going to be RTX enabled cards. So of the games that have ray tracing, that includes the new Assetto Corsa, Atomic Heart, Battlefield 5, Control, Enlisted, Justice, JX3, MechWarrior 5, Mercenaries, Metro Exodus, Project DH, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. But then the games that support deep level super sampling are Ark Survival Evolved, Atomic Heart, Dauntless, Final Fantasy 15, Fractured Lands, Hitman 2, Island of 9, Justice, JX3, MechWarrior 5, Mercenaries, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Remnant from the Ashes, Serious Sam 4, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, The Forge Arena, and We Happy Few. Ark Survival Evolved, Final Fantasy 15, PUBG, We Happy Few. Those 4 games are pretty major releases that a lot of people would care about ray tracing being involved in. Don't actually support ray tracing. I don't necessarily have a problem with RTX not meaning that it doesn't support ray tracing. What I have a problem with, and what I had a problem with the release video that we did on the RTX cards, is that Nvidia is intentionally being underhanded about all of this. They're lying by omission here, either to deceive so that people don't know about it, or so that they can clarify it later after the pre-orders have already gone out, as in the case as they've already sold out and you have to wait until November at least to order a 2080 Ti on the Nvidia store. It seems like we're getting a lot of clarification after the fact from Nvidia here, because they couldn't actually demo things at the event to actually give us reasons to buy these things. And it seems like even the best deck stacking that Nvidia could do isn't really that great. We released a video earlier today showing that the ray tracing performance in Shadow of the Tomb Raider leads to 30 to 50 FPS at 1080p with the 2080 Ti, which is woefully disappointing. Obviously, it can be improved, and ray tracing support is not going to be available with Shadow of the Tomb Raider at launch, but that led me to the point that one, it's an add-on support feature, so it's not native to the game in the first place, so it's going to be roughly slapdash and not exactly what you would want from a game that has inherent ray tracing support. And then 2, we're waiting way too long to get ray tracing support for these games, and it's going to be the case that people are going to be done playing the game before ray tracing would even come out, which means why are they even supporting it in the first place? Which would then lead me to the question of why are they even supporting it in the first place? In my opinion, this is a massive letdown from Nvidia that the games that they showcased that they had on screen to show RTX support do not support ray tracing when they did not clarify that from the stage. It doesn't appear that Nvidia has enough performance on the new RTX cards to justify their existence at the price levels that they're currently at. It seems like Nvidia is trying to divert our attention from the things we actually want, which is high resolution, high refresh rate gameplay, and trying to point our attention to things that they're not even providing when they talk about their RTX technology. I am not trying to sit here and say that ray tracing is not worth it, or that deep learning super sampling isn't going to be a great technology to soften out the edges of games such as PUBG. But the issue that I'm currently having with this is that a lot of this seems like Nvidia is not being forthcoming with how everything is going. And it's a stark contrast from the Pascal launch that happened 2 years ago. With the 10 series, they had benchmarks of video game versus video game, of a system with 980 SLI versus a GTX 1080. They at least made the claim that in normal video game environments, the 1080 was about 2 980s, which is wonderful. It turned out to not be exactly true, but they at least gave us some realm of comparison to the normal gameplay that we would want to experience. As it stands now, we hardly have any of that. There are some reports that the 2080 Ti can do 4K at 100 FPS in a lot of different games, which is great, but it's not $1,200 great, and it doesn't appear that the RTX technology that Nvidia is putting in these cards is worth it that much either, because either ray tracing is going to come too late, it's a half-baked add-on, or it's not really ray tracing altogether, or it's deep learning super sampling, which makes it not something that necessarily everybody would want to enable and likely could hurt the performance of their gameplay, or it couldn't, but adding features to broken games already such as PUBG and We Happy Few doesn't necessarily seem like the best idea here. Personally, I feel like Nvidia has been underhanded about this whole thing. It's kind of continued from the GeForce Partner Program that they launched back earlier this year, and now we're kind of seeing it seep through in the new launch of this generation's graphics cards. The pricing was kind of deceitful in how they announced it. The pricing of the cards is way too high for what they actually provide. The performance of ray tracing isn't where we want it to be. RTX doesn't mean what they actually indicated that it would, and we're expected to just go ahead and buy these cards because there's no competition from AMD, and it doesn't look like there's going to be competition for at least half of a year. It's a really concerning place for us to be. Nvidia kind of gets to do what they want since they're the king of the hill. The only thing that we can do is kind of talk about it. We can have a discussion about it. We can make it so that people don't necessarily blindly buy these cards, blindly follow Nvidia, and accept the crap that they're feeding us, because I don't think that's the best way for any of us to go forward. If you want to buy an RTX card, go ahead. I'm not here to try to stop you. I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't even buy it because Nvidia is being deceitful. I just think that it's worth giving a platform to actually talk about how the things that Nvidia is saying are going to happen aren't necessarily the case, and I don't think that's really acceptable. And again, if they had been forthcoming about this from the stage, if Jensen had indicated that RTX wasn't just RTRT, which is real-time ray tracing, and that it could be that or deep learning super sampling, then I would be fine here. I wouldn't have had to make this video, but it looks like they intentionally obfuscated the truth. It looks like they're lying by omission. It looks like they didn't have enough in these new cards to actually present them as being something amazing. So they stacked the deck. They made sure that they only told us the best parts and left out the things that we'll have to find out later after everybody has already placed their orders. But I want this to be a conversation. Are you okay with Nvidia stacking the deck like this in the presentation? Are you okay with them clarifying everything after the fact? Are you okay with the fact that RTX doesn't just mean real-time ray tracing, and that you'll have to find out whether it supports ray tracing even if it is an RTX game? Let me know all of that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. Don't forget that this video is brought to you by betterhelp.com/UFD. So if you need some affordable, professional online counseling that can happen at your convenience, check out the link in the video description to sign up for it down there. That's going to wrap it up for me. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see your smiling faces in the next video, and love you too.